Good morning, good evening, whatever time it is that you're listening to this. Welcome to episode 46 of Two Guys, Zero Planners. Back again as my wonderful co-host who keeps trying to get me to be on time for these things. How you doing, Urban?
I'm doing good. I mean, Germany has the highest ever recorded number of COVID cases, but we'll see how that goes.
Right. Here we go, almost starting, a full year of pandemic life, I guess. No, we've been doing it for a year now, so almost year two. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And it's like the same thing happening now where they say, there won't be a lockdown, and then slowly the sort of restrictions are coming, and then eventually it will be a lockdown again, I assume.
Man, they say time flies when you're having fun. Time has been flying, and I'm definitely not having fun.
Yeah, so, unfortunately, there are other reasons for time flying as well. Yeah.
Right. Brain aging as you get older, and the concept of time just completely changing.
Yeah.
Oh, the human brain is an interesting thing. Yeah. A long time ago, someone actually asked us how we manage life without planners. This is how. We say we're going to be doing an episode in October, and we don't actually record an episode until November because neither of us sticks to a plan when we do these things.
Yeah, and then I think, didn't we have something planned, and then I got sick, and I don't know. Or was this last time? I don't know. This autumn is crazy. It's like in the family, everyone has been sick on and off for the last few weeks. The kids are really making up for last year when they weren't in school and couldn't pick up the latest flus and stomach flus and everything.
No, actually, that was this month. So the multiple sicknesses was this month. Yeah, sounds like it's just been an interesting time all around. Thanks to some stress popping up in my life as well, I ended up spending October rebuilding my computer into an open air case. So it's interesting. This case can either be wall mounted, laid flat like a coffee table, or stood on its side like it is. It has a plexiglass front, so I could actually use it like a coffee table.
Can you also spill your coffees on it?
Actually, as long as the plexiglass didn't break when something dropped on it during the spill, yes. Because then the coffee would go off to the sides. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to do that, though. Graphic cards are still really hard to buy at the moment. And yeah, my GPU, when I got it, was $1,000. If I was to sell it right now, I could sell it for $1,500.
Cool. Almost sounds like my house.
It's a thing. I mean, to be fair, as far as the graphics card hierarchy is concerned, it's the fourth one down in the stack. I think it goes. Oh my goodness! What does Tom's Hardware say? Let's consult the Google. Tom's Hardware GPU hierarchy 2021. Okay. Okay, yeah. So it goes NVIDIA RTX 3090, RTX 3080 Ti, AMD 6900 XT, and then my card, which is the AMD 6800 XT. So, yeah. In a few things, it actually outperforms the 3080 Ti. So it's like, okay, that's weird. But then in a lot of games, the 3080 Ti barely squeaks by my graphics card by like 2 or 3 frames a second. So it is what it is. But yeah, I caved in, went RGB, went liquid cooling, and all that because I wanted to do a project where I had 100% control over what I was doing.
Unlike me, and I don't even have a personal computer anymore. It's just my work laptop. And it's from 2017, I think.
I forgot about that fact, yeah. But yeah, that's how we manage life without planners. All that circled around to that. At least you and Monica have been consistent over on Expanding Beyond.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Soon we'll catch up, I guess.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you guys will catch up. That's not even at question at this point. That's going to happen.
Yeah, we're on episode 35 already, yeah.
Is it only 35? Yeah, yeah, it's only 35. Okay. I was about to say, I don't think I've gotten the audio for 36 yet.
No.
Okay. That'll be this weekend.
Exactly, that will be this weekend. At one point, we actually had some kind of proper professional schedule where we would record early, and then it would the episode would come out in 2 weeks. But then the summer holidays happened, and now it's we could record on a Saturday. Hopefully you have the time, or until now you've always had the time, and then Wednesday the episode is coming out.
I mean, it's one of those things that you guys finish up the recording just as I'm finishing up what is technically my Friday for work.
Mm-hmm.
And because the shows are between 40 and 55 minutes of raw audio, it only takes an hour and a half to do a full edit. So at this point, you guys have decided to trust my edits on your show, which is kind of interesting, but hey.
Yeah, I think I never listened to... I mean, these days I actually listen to them afterwards because I want to make the show notes, but on 1.5 times speed.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's it's nice to be trusted when you're doing the edit, because I can just go through really quick. There's probably a good 50 or 60 ums from both of you that don't make it to the final show, but I let a few sneak in. Here and there. Is a very important word when you're trying to gather your thoughts. Yeah. And yeah, I decided, I think it was around episode 27, that I was going to let a few natural ums and uhs stay in the episode. I used to be a lot more strict about that. But when the thought seemed rather important and it made sense for the listener to hear you guys actually gathering your thoughts, leaving an made sense at that point. And now I have to remember not to edit out a single that I just said in that entire explanation.
Or all of them, depending on how you want to go.
There is that. That one will probably stay. I don't know. Either that or the listener will wonder what I was talking about with it staying. On other interesting news for things I can control, I'm getting a new audio interface because, of course, I am.
The board. Are you getting a board?
No, I'm not getting a board, but this one does look more retro than the current interface that I do currently have.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's a step in the right direction. Michael would probably be proud of me, I think. I hope. Wait, why would I want Michael to be proud of me?
I don't know. That's a different show, isn't it?
Yeah, there seems to be a flaw in my logic there. Yeah. I'm going to avoid boards. Avoiding boards is a good thing, except for motherboards. I'm debating getting a different motherboard. I should quit looking at computer parts. That's expensive.
It is.
It really is. But it's so pretty. Right now, the RGB is alternating between blue and green. And in between, it hits a nice seafoam green that's very relaxing. I'm like a fish. I'm just staring at the pretty lights. Oh, speaking of fish, you've been doing a lot of stuff with that.
Yeah, that is true. I'm now up to 6 fish tanks. They somehow seem to accumulate. I guess it doesn't hurt that I'm living close to a fairly big city, and that Germans like keeping fish. So most of the stuff is secondhand, and sometimes I get it even for free. So that's sort of half of the fun is finding the cheap things. And there would be so many more tanks if I actually had the space. And huge ones are also, if you look long enough, you can also get them for free, more or less. And yeah, that's what I've been doing instead of buying even more pens.
These fish tanks, they are in the same room that you're recording in?
Mm-hmm.
And the fish tanks have been growing in number?
Yes, but I'm turning off everything for recording, of course.
No, that's fine. I've been wondering why the reverb has gotten a little bit worse.
I think we talked about it on last episode. We have this sort of big window that used to be half covered because in summer you couldn't watch with films with the beamer if it was light outside. But now that it's dark really early, I've removed that. So there's this nice, huge glass pane that can sort of reflect all the sound, I guess.
Well, I mean, and you're adding more glass, but at least this glass has fish and water. I mean, it's not bad.
True.
The reverb honestly sounds fine. I just like giving you a hard time for it because one of these
because
days...
I still haven't bought my new microphone.
Yeah, one of these days I'm going to peer pressure both you and Monica into picking up different microphones. Maybe by episode 100? Maybe. So, I mean, okay. I think you've explained it to me before, but 1, I've slept since then. 2, I've definitely gotten drunk since then. And 3, life, the universe, and everything. Mm-hmm. Why the different fish tanks?
Because you want to sort of... They don't all go together. And there's sometimes there's bigger fish that would, I don't know, either eat or harass the small ones, or at least eat their eggs and their fry. But it's much more fun if you sort of have fish tanks where sort of almost naturally you have more fish sort of spawning and growing up and stuff like that. So, and they sometimes need different water, right? Sometimes they come from an area where it's warm or the water is really soft or stuff like that. So you also need to play around with that.
Okay, that kind of makes sense. So
plus small fish tanks are sort of go. I mean, if you have a big fish tank, it's not only longer, but it's also deeper, right? So, and where do you put that? So with the small ones, they're sort of, I don't know, 1 foot deep or something, and then you put them all against the wall. And if it's like a really big one, if it's like a 4-foot tank, then they're normally 2 feet deep and stuff like that. And then you run into issues with where do they go and what do you put them on? Because of course water is pretty heavy.
Things I wasn't really thinking about until you said it. Water is pretty heavy.
And then you add stones and sand and even more heavy things to it. So yeah.
Wow, you never really think of the overall weight of that stuff until you're actually doing it. I guess that's interesting. So okay, I'm looking at the picture. Yes, it's a bad phone panorama.
It is.
It is.
Not only is it a panorama, but also taken with a really cheap phone.
Here's my question. So going from left to starting at the far left and going clockwise. What is each of these tanks? And I can tell you're acclimating fish in the bottom tank.
Yes.
I see the bag, so I can tell you're acclimating things.
So the one on the left, those are really, really tiny shrimp. They're like, I don't know, 1/2 inch or something.
Okay, so that's why the water looks like a river in Oklahoma. Got it. Yeah,
but also the light is warmer on that tank than on the others. So that's why it's more yellow, I guess.
Oh, okay. So white balance issues. Got it.
That also, yeah. So it sort of depends on the plants, right? What's the best light? And then sometimes you just pick up something. And that's supposedly a good light. And the others are more, I don't know. I'm not sure how important it is.
Well, plants can be pretty picky. So yeah, I could see that. Okay, so you've got shrimp in the far left. What about the one next to that?
Those are sort of a bit bigger fish from Africa. Sort of, they're cichlids. They're sort of they are generally one of the most colorful fish you can find in freshwater because oftentimes in freshwater you don't find fish that are as vibrant as marine fish. Basically, they're sort of there's a pair in there. They are more or less on their own because they attack basically anything, especially if they've laid eggs and they're sort of defending their young and stuff like that.
So the aggressive fish got their own tank. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got what is that thing in the upper right? I should know that fish type by now.
That's an angelfish.
Okay, I thought that's what that was. I didn't know if there was a different variation of them that I was thinking.
And my wife named it Bob.
Bob.
Yeah. It's
Bob the only angelfish.
It's the only fish that has a name.
Okay, so everyone else in that picture doesn't have a name except for Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
How long has Bob been a thing?
I got him a few months ago. Someone in the area sort of gave the fish away because I don't know why, but I sort of got him here because there are other fish in there that sort of they would normally breed pretty prolifically and then basically fill up the tank with fish. And he's sort of kind of the natural pest control, I would call him, because he's just big and eats the tiny fish.
At least in my experience with angelfish, they always had to be in their own tank because of how aggressive they got. So I could see that. You know, let's skip the other 3 tanks, though. Let's skip the other 3. Yeah. Occasionally, we're a pen podcast, so let's talk about that. Good news. I finally finished the Kaweco ink line.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Last video went live today.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a nice black.
It is. If only the Tomoe dry time was better.
Yeah. I mean, the last black I used was the Graf von Faber-Castell Carbon Black, and that's also a pretty good black, but the dry time is also very annoying, even in an extra fine nib on Tomoe River. So I don't know if that's a thing for black inks.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the color. I like the intensity. Honestly, I even like the water performance for a change. But yeah, just overall, that particular ink, it's just like, it's so close to being the perfect black ink, but I'm still going to have to consider Namiki my go-to. Pilot Namiki just does black ink better.
Yeah, that's also a pretty good black. That's true. Yeah,
it really is.
For work, I'm sort of, I guess I will finish my Tomoe River notebook, and then I will use something with other paper that dries a bit faster. I'm not sure yet what, but something else, I think. At least for work, it's a bit annoying if you have to wait so long.
Well, pretty much since work is completely digital for me, it's all personal writing anyways. It's like for reviews, I'm always going to have Rhodia for the Everyman's paper, and then Exotic Paper X. So right now, until I finish that Masubi notebook, Exotic Paper X happens to be Tomoe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I may switch over to Cosmo or whatever that era is. Cosmo Air Paper, whatever that era is. Wow. You can tell I literally just woke up before we started recording.
Yeah. Or who knows, maybe by then the new Tomoe River will come out and we'll see what it actually is about.
Yeah. I'll have to save a few pages of old Tomoe so I can do a side-by-side comparison.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, hey guys, this paper isn't as bad as we're expecting it to be. But having completed both the Pelican line and the Kaweco line, neither company can do a red ink that's actually halfway decent.
That is true. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah, so far German pen companies are 0 for 2 on red inks.
Yeah. I'm thinking, is there anyone, I mean, apart from Faber-Castell, is there anyone who does cartridges?
I was about to say, I think Mont Blanc is bottles only.
No, it's actually not.
Really?
I have, I mean, even for this, but I think I have the Little Prince ink in cartridge form. They are actually pretty good. I mean, they're of course super expensive, but still better than buying the bottle. But I think there's a lot of inks they actually have in cartridge form.
Okay.
And their standard line is definitely available in cartridge form.
Okay, that should make it easier to at least do some Mont Blanc ink reviews.
Same for the Graf von Faber-Castell. Basically, every ink is available in cartridge form. Because otherwise you have to buy, I don't think they have these huge 75 ml bottles. And of course they're expensive because it's a lot of ink.
Of course they are.
I mean, in comparison, I think sort of if you go by milliliter, they're not more expensive than Kaweco. I think at least the last time I looked. But it's at least back in the day when the Kaweco inks were 30 ml. Because it's like almost 3 times the amount.
Yeah, I was about to say. That actually brings up a good question. What ink line should I work on next?
I mean, Sailor, probably not, because you would never finish.
Yeah. Also, what was that about expensive ink?
Yeah. Or, I mean, they are a lot of the inks come now in cartridge form too, don't they?
They do, but I'm using Kaweco Sports for my writing.
True.
So I would have to do a syringe transfer from one cartridge to another. I mean, I kind of already do that anyways, but yeah, I could do that. I guess I could start pricing Sailor inks. Yeah, I was thinking either J. Herbin or Diamine, but I want to. One of the comments I tend to get quite often are people in areas where they can't get the exotic ink lines, like they can't get Robert Oster, they sometimes even can't get Sailor.
Okay.
So they're really happy that I'm doing these reviews of the more mainline ink brands that you can kind of get everywhere. Obviously, I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just reviewing those inks, but it's nice that I'm doing something that people find value in.
Mm-hmm. So what you did, Kaweco, the Pelican 4001 ones, Waterman, right?
Let me check. Did I actually do the entire Waterman line?
I don't know.
Checking the YouTube. YouTube Studio. Waterman. I've only got 5 videos for them.
I mean, how many inks do they have? 7?
Let me check. I'm on Pen Chalet's website right now. Which coincidentally, if you use the code 2guys or Ink1210, since I do both, and it all leads back to me anyways, you get 10% off your order at Pen Chalet with free shipping on orders over $50. I haven't said anything like that in one of these podcasts in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, 2guys still works. That moment when you have to check to see if the coupon code you just read actually still works. Where was I? Ink, bottles, Waterman. Okay. There's 8.
Okay.
So, according to my YouTube channel, I've done Harmonious Green, Mysterious Blue, Inspired Blue, Tender Purple, and Serenity Blue. So, I would have to do Absolute Brown. I can speak. I have to do Absolute Brown, Audacious Red, and Intense Black.
Mm-hmm. Maybe they can do a red. Who knows?
Well, it looks like I've got 3 inks that I need to try before I move on to another brand, because I've started Waterman. I'm over halfway. So I definitely need to do it.
There's also Caran d'Ache also comes in cartridge.
Okay. I mean, it can come in bottle form. I'm not limiting myself just to cartridges, but cartridges are cheaper.
Yeah.
And I only make like $300 a year so far on this YouTube channel. So a lot of the stuff is still coming out of pocket.
I'm currently at Van Ness. For example, the Faber-Castell 6-pack of cartridges is like $4.
Oh, okay. Sailor inks aren't that bad on price. Okay. That makes life a little bit easier. So speaking of ink colors, if you're listening to this and there is a particular ink brand that you want me to move on to now that I'm done with Kaweco, like yell at me over on either Instagram or if you're in the Pen Addict Slack, yell at me there and let me know. We do have an email address, but what is that email address?
Do we?
We do. We've had an email address for the longest time.
Did we ever check it? Maybe people are
checking it now.
us.
Okay, good news. Good news. It's only the typical spam. Maybe this is why people don't email us, because it sounds like they're sending an email to the Republican Party. Our email is ask2g0p, 2 guys 0 planners, at gmail.com. So yeah, ask2g0p at gmail.com. Wow. Sometimes our podcast name is very unfortunate, but we're sticking with it because we're 2 guys with 0 planners.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So yeah, if there is an ink brand that you want to see on my YouTube channel, send us an email at ask2g0p at gmail.com or yell at me over on the Pen Addict Slack. I go by either the Inktwell or Yvgenii, one of the two. Or if I'm in a Discord with you, because I am in a few Discords at the moment that some pen people are in. You'll find me there either as the Inktwell or Yvgenii, which is my gaming YouTube channel. Which, by the way, I have a gaming YouTube channel. If you look up Yvgenii on YouTube, you'll find it. Helpful hint, do not look up that YouTube channel unless you are okay with a lot of profanity and a bunch of people yelling at video games. Because me and my friends do not have a filter when we play video games.
Did we talk about it in the last episode, or was it afterwards where we talked about your issues with the channel?
The copyright strike stuff?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think we talked about that during the episode. That did resolve itself, so there are no copyright strikes.
Mm-hmm.
So the channel is still a thing. In fact, later on today, probably after work, I have to edit 4.5 hours of Back 4 Blood gameplay. Yeah, I used to hate zombies, and then I was able to desensitize myself to them. We're going through this brand new zombie game that released last month in October.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to make forward progress on that game. I also got hooked on Destiny 2. Now, there's other content creators that do a lot better work on Destiny 2 than I could ever hope to. So I'm not doing any recordings of that stuff, even though I should, because content is content. But yeah, can you tell I've been busy?
Yeah.
By the way, let's circle back around the pens for a little bit more before I have to go through my morning routine and go to work while you go through your evening routine and get ready for bed. Boy, podcasting is weird sometimes.
It is. But also amazing that you can do this halfway across the globe, more or less.
Exactly. I mean, also, it's kind of a weird thing when I'm sitting here saying, go through my morning routine at 12:40 in the afternoon.
Yeah. I mean, especially for me, I normally get up at 6:30 during weekdays because the kids need to go to school, because I don't know why kids in Germany need to be in school at 8 o'clock in the morning. It is annoying.
Kids in the United States, most places have to do the same thing. In some school districts, they have this thing called 0 hour, where you're actually in school at 7 o'clock in the morning.
I mean, and then there's other countries like Greece or the Netherlands where it's, I think, 9 o'clock or something more humane.
Oh, God. I would have loved that when I went to school. That would have been amazing. But yeah, I unfortunately had 0 hour classes. Maybe that's what contributed to me skipping school a lot. Don't let me be an example for your kids, people. It's not a good idea.
Yeah, what were we talking about? Pens. Ah, that's the thing about pens.
Oh, yeah, pens. Let's circle back around to what we actually talk about. So you're trusting Visconti?
Friday was fountain pen day, and even though I was looking at various sites and retailers, and 20% off is not a bad deal. Depending on where you go, it's actually pretty good. But then I saw that Anna, so Encantadora, who I did the other fountain pen podcast in the past with, she was also selling some of her stuff. And then I saw this nice purple Visconti Rembrandt with a palladium nib, and I thought, I've never tried a palladium nib, and it's a Visconti. I've never tried a Visconti. It has a magnetic, it closes with a magnet. Also never tried that. And the nib has been checked by Annabelle from Applebaum too. And so I could try a Visconti that actually works. Thought, not a bad idea.
Not a bad idea at all. I didn't realize that you had not experienced the joys of a palladium nib.
No, I've never tried.
I mean, palladium is a good writing experience, especially like you said in your case, where you've actually had it checked out beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, are there any other brands that use palladium nibs even?
I don't think so.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a Visconti thing. I'm sure if someone else does it, they'll correct us. But yeah, no, I can't think of anyone else that does that.
Yeah. Plus, it's a fairly wet broad nib, and it uses cartridges, so at least I will have one pen in rotation that is fairly easy to write dry. Because I'm still, I still have pens inked from my summer holidays in August, like 5. Someday I will actually want to write them dry and try other stuff.
That was the biggest reason I just decided to use sports for the reviews, so I could constantly cycle those out.
Yeah.
And then I've just got my favorites in all my other pens. It makes life so much easier. It's like, okay, if I'm writing with them, I know what ink is going to be in them. And then if I'm doing review stuff, okay, I can cycle through the Kavekos. They're easier to clean. Although I should probably do a sanity flush of each of my main pens every once in a while, just to keep them clean and keep them from staining, especially in the case of the Pelicans. But I'm going to be using the same color ink in those pens the rest of their lives, which hopefully is a long, healthy life without me damaging a pen in any way, shape, or form, which I am prone to do. Now I'm scared.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also I'm not really switching inks that much anymore. Maybe I will have to start again with all the samples I have. Eventually, I want to use at least some of them up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, do you think we're getting old? And just part of getting old is just finding what you like and sticking with it?
I'm not sure. I'm not getting old, of course. I'm not sure if you are, but looking at the show notes document, at some point I actually wrote it down. It's almost exactly 5 years ago that I got my first Twist B Eco. So maybe that's just how it is. After you try a lot in the beginning, and eventually you just find what works for you.
I think you've got me beat by a year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I started in 2017. And yeah. No surprises. Blue tends to be my number one color that I'm using. Go figure. I am a sucker for blue inks. But
I don't even think to have a blue pen. Blue inked? No, I have. What do I have? I have an orange. Only one green. Surprisingly, well, Lamy Petrol is could also be classified as a green.
Yeah, that's kind of a dark green with blue overtones.
And then 2 weird ones. One is citrus black, so platinum citrus black.
I love that ink.
That is an amazing ink. That's so much fun to watch how it changes color, especially on paper that's not Tomoe River, because then it sort of changes almost instantly. That's also a lot of fun.
Yep. I've done a review on that one. That was a fun review.
Yeah. I still don't own a bottle. I still have my sample that I'm going through, but eventually I will have to buy one. But they're kind of expensive.
Just a little, yeah. But it's worth it.
That's true. And
definitely for that ink.
And the last one is Robert Oster's Summer Storm, which is some kind of weird purple gray ink. It's a bit on the dry side, but at least the shading is there then.
Let's take a look as far as non-blue inks. Well, no, because I'm double using a few inks.
Oh, but of course I don't have a blue ink now because I liked Pilot Blue Black so much, so I used it up in the pen already. Because, I mean, It's a boring blue, but it's actually a pretty great ink, I think.
See, I don't think I use a boring blue at all.
As long as it's not a royal blue, I'm fine. That's like damage from German school, I guess.
Right. So yeah, I mean, on my side, I'm using Konpeki, Kaweco Midnight Blue. Oh God, yeah, that has a lot of. Sorry, the next one, Colorverse NGC 1850. I love that ink. The shimmer and sheen are just amazing. And then, like, I've got two super sheeners in here. So, Colorverse Extreme Deep Field, which is kind of a super sheener. And then Monteverde Blue Velvet Cake. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then everything else is just like a bunch of turquoises. For the Sailor 2 Hot, I'm keeping Robert Oster Monsoon Sky in there. Because I like the orange-green combination that it gives me. Mm-hmm. And then in the Fig Boot on Pens Leonardo that I got. Oh yeah, I got a Fig Boot on Pens Leonardo.
Ooh, they look pretty nice.
They are pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I got to yell at, not really yell at him, but he asked my opinion quite a few times on the colors for those. Mm-hmm. And he even let me do something that he didn't quite let anyone else do, and I got to pick the number of pen. Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, so I got number 42.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, part of me wishes I had gotten a gold nib with it, but I'm okay with the steel nib. It writes beautifully, and Fig Boot didn't. He didn't sabotage my pen, which is nice. Thank you, Fig Boot, for not sabotaging my pen. I appreciate that. It's definitely a good signature edition. So I'm happy with it.
Is that a normal sized Leonardo or one of the big ones?
The Memento, I think it's just the regular Memento Zero.
Okay.
So I don't think it's the Grande.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to ink up my Leonardo at some point. The nib is really great. That's true.
So I ended up putting Ancient Copper in that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's a good match.
Turquoise, orangish thing, yeah.
Mm. Well, when I finally do the review for mine, you'll see that it's got one half of it has quite a bit of the copper flecks coming through. Mm-hmm. And it kind of just meshed with it. So it was like that combination had to happen. Especially since my Namiki is using Oxblood. I didn't want to use Oxblood in two pens. Mm-hmm. So Ancient Copper, I was like, okay, I've got a bottle of that sitting around. I don't have any other reds or oranges that I really trust putting into a pen. So I'll go with Ancient Copper. It works. It's diamine. It's a good thing.
Which one's the dry one? Is it Ancient Copper or is it Autumn Oak? One of them is annoyingly dry. Forget which one.
Ancient Copper, I think, was annoyingly dry, come to think of it, when I did the review. Ancient Copper. Oh, God, this is back when I was doing the side angle thing. God, what were you thinking, dude? Water performance was okay. Where's the dry time? Oh, there's the dry times. Okay, so that would be on Rhodia. What about Tomoe? Okay, so Rhodia looked like it was just over 10 seconds for the dry time. Mm-hmm. And Tomoe was just over 10 seconds as well. Literally just over 10 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah. What the hell was I thinking on this video? Like that whole thing where I'm looking off to the side and I'm not actually looking at the camera.
That's how you know that you've improved. If you look at your old stuff and think like that, right? What was I thinking?
Right. Well, the last few videos I've just been doing top down without even doing any face shots.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been doing top down talking about the ink. Mainly because yay, adult acne, yay me.
Woo-hoo. And
I just don't want to go through the fuss of putting on makeup to put myself in front of camera.
That is, of course, a good point. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to get it to where these videos don't take 6 hours to do from start to finish. If I can go without makeup, sure, I'll talk to the camera again. But if I have to put makeup on, no, I'm just going to do top down. So all you see are my hands.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think people care. They really just want to look at the product.
That's true. Yeah.
I mean, I'm assuming you're the one that's been thumbs upping the last few videos. So you haven't decided that the new style is horrible.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I always watch them and give them a thumbs up. Yes.
Actually, that is how I know that it's okay for me to go ahead and release them. If you don't give me a thumbs up, then something's wrong and I have to change something. Yeah, it's nice having people that you can trust for quality control, even though they don't know that they're your quality control.
I mean, that's a good thing. It's like your videos aren't that long, so it's easy to watch them when they sort of come out directly. That's one thing. Some people have asked me to do longer videos, like 20-minute reviews and stuff. I tried that back when the channel first started, and I'm sorry, I'm not Ink Dependence. I'm not Fig Boot. I'm not going to talk about something for 2,000 or 3,000 words. I'm just not. For me, getting my thoughts down in 1,000 words, here's the product, here's what's good, here's what's bad, here are the key performance indicators. Now decide for yourself if that's something you like. Mm-hmm.
That's the type of shopper I am. I want clear, concise reviews. And that's why my YouTube videos are like 5 or 6 minutes long.
Yeah, and if they want longer videos, they can sort of go to the other reviewers, I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, the only time a video ever gets longer than that is when I'm reviewing a pen. And that's just because there's a lot of nitnoid details in like the box that I end up talking about, which I do obsess over boxes. That is a good critique of my work. Mm-hmm. Oh my goodness. Speaking of Viscontis.
Exactly. I was going to say, I will also experience my first Visconti box. I don't know if it's as good if it because it's not a super expensive Visconti, but I don't know. It looked like a big box.
Have fun with that box and then click on that link I just added to the show doc.
Yeah, I think there's also this Leonardo da Vinci, which has this huge box with stuff in there, right?
Yeah.
It's like you're buying the box and by the way, here's also a pen.
I'm just like I'm trying to formulate some type of thought on this Visconti pen that we're looking at here. What?
Yeah, I don't know. There are some Visconti pens that I can get behind, and they are generally the cheaper ones. And those ones, they just, I don't know, to charge that price, you have to make them ridiculous, I guess. I mean, look at Montegrappa, at their expensive ones.
You know, I still don't own a Montegrappa.
Yeah, I thought about maybe getting an Elmo, which is basically their, I don't know, Esterbrook SD pen from design-wise. But I think they came first, but I don't know.
And I still don't own an Esterbrook.
Yeah, neither do I, because at least here they're super expensive. They're almost 200 euros.
So, do you want to go halvesies on an Esterbrook so I can review it and then ship it to you?
I mean, the customs has really tightened up control around here in Europe. Basically anything. I even had a letter, right? Just a letter with paper in it, opened by customs, because they wanted to check, because it was a thick letter from someone in Canada, we may know. And they sort of, I came here with the side was opened and then taped closed with the tape from customs that said opened by customs. It was really weird. It never happened to me before.
What? Wow.
Yeah, there's basically these. So until I think last year, anything below a value of 20 euros sort of wouldn't get checked by customs. And I guess that's why I bought so many Chinese pens, because they were under that limit. But these days they sort of changed the rules, and basically anything coming out of the European Union needs to be taxed. And basically anything ends up in customs. So it's super annoying to get anything from outside. So
yeah, so we can't do that old trick where I would say the pen was only worth like $5.
Nope, not anymore.
That is insane.
And then I have to go either I pay the my post 28 euro handling fee, or I drive 40 minutes one way to my next customs office. Then it in the end doesn't really make sense anymore.
No, it doesn't. Wow. Now, wait, does customs only check regular post, or do they also check like FedEx?
I would assume everything. And then the best thing with those are then they sort of handle the customs thing. But somehow in Germany, they always expect you to pay in cash. But you never know how much the customs fee is going to be. So you're standing there, and the guy who barely speaks German, because they don't get really paid much. So most Germans don't do the job. We try to talk to them and say, hey, but how much is it? Okay, I don't have that much cash on me. And then, I don't know, they take the package with them, and hopefully they come back next day. And you can do it. There's no way to pay online, or at least know how much it's going to be beforehand. It's really weird.
Wow. So, okay.
So that's what happened to my musubi order, right? It comes in DHL Express in, I don't know, 2 days. But then it's like 1 day more, because I have to have the money, right, in sort of small bills and coins.
That is just insane.
It is, yeah. Especially because DHL can do it in other countries, right? They know how to sort of let people know how much it's going to be.
Okay, why is Germany having to be the weird one here?
Yeah, that's the whole discussion that stuff just isn't digital in Germany somehow. I mean, you know those credit cards that sort of where you can pay contactless? You sort of just touch. Yeah, that's in Germany for like 2 years, maybe 3. That's super new here. It's just really weird.
Now, to be fair, there are a few, even though it's been a thing longer here, just because of how our banking system is set up, a few banks haven't gotten around to it until literally the last year or so. So depending on who you banked with or who your credit card company was with, there was actually a good chance that you would not have one of those contactless chips in your credit card.
Yeah, but I think it was also the other side, that sort of the machines weren't even set up for that.
Yeah, you guys are late to the party then. We've had that going for a while. Wow.
Yeah, and that's sort of basically everywhere in government. Stuff really isn't digital. It's super annoying.
That is. Do we want to finish out with some more fountain pen stuff before we call it a day?
Was that our topic? Yeah. Uh-huh.
I'm trying to wrap my head around the concept of Germany being that far behind on stuff, and then just going completely bananas on customs. And I just don't. It's too early in my day to wrap my head around that stuff.
Yeah. So speaking of customs, luckily there is this great Irish pen maker, Ben Walsh, with his Gravitas brand. And as Ireland is in the European Union, there's no need to pay customs. So that's why I'm so happy to have someone here. So I don't have to look at Shown Design or Spoke pens and think, do I want to pay customs on that stuff? Instead, I bought his pocket pen, which is also a machine pen, and it's actually a pretty cool pen, I would say. So it's size-wise, it's about a Kaweco Sport, but it has a number 6 size nibs. But from design, it's very similar, I would say. The cap is sort of also posts really deeply, just like a Kaweco. It's just that it only has one flat end instead of, I don't know, this octagonal shape that the Kawecos have.
Yeah, I was noticing that in the picture. I really do like the look of this pen. Kind of in the shown design sense, well, on that tangent anyways. At some point, Phil said I could borrow his for review.
Mm-hmm.
I should probably talk to him at some point.
Yeah.
Oh, things I need to do. Oh, that's some interesting knurling on that section there. How does that section feel?
Pretty nice, actually. And as far as I know, the section is actually weighted. So, I mean, this is an aluminum pen, so it would be actually pretty light, but the section is weighted, so it's sort of, the balance is on the right end of the pen, I would say. And the knurling is very, very fine. It's just, you almost don't notice it, but it's enough so that you have a proper grip on it. And it's not like one of those shiny sections that get slippery, like on the Visconti that I'm getting, I guess.
See, I didn't even notice the knurling until I saw that there was a second picture. And yeah, you don't notice the knurling until you get right up close to that section. That's really well done.
And sort of he has, sort of his specialty seems to be laser engraving. So he has some of the pen models that have been anodized, and afterwards he's sort of taking away stuff again with the laser. And it has some really cool patterns.
Okay, these prices are not that bad for a pocket pen.
Exactly. It's fairly cheap. And I think next year or something he's coming up with even a pen with a number 8 nib. Maybe that will then be my first number 8 nib.
I could see that. I wonder what the shipping would be like over to the US. I'll have to make a fake order later.
Mm-hmm.
When I have a little bit more time. Interesting. Well, there goes some more of my money. Thanks, Urban.
You're welcome.
So I guess last thing to round out, looks like a while back you made the podcast rounds again, or at least people mentioning FPC.
Yes. It's been a while. I'm not entirely sure anymore what it was about. Yes. Oh, yes. There was in Pen Addict episode 483, I think they talked about, someone asked a question about tools around the hobby that Brad thinks are missing, or things that he uses or likes, and then he actually mentioned FPC, and which was pretty cool that it came up in that regard, saying this is a useful tool for the community and stuff like that.
Yeah, having a repository of inks and being able to actually visualize your collection. Yes, that's very helpful.
By the end of the year, I think people will have entered at least 180,000 inks. Let's see, I'm currently at 176,000. Who knows? 200,000 is probably too much until the end of the year, but at some point, it's actually growing, and almost 3,000 users and about 460 brands of ink, which is a lot. I'm not sure if they're all real, but on the other hand, there's always something new coming.
That is true. I'm curious for you to sit down one day and actually go through that number of brands and see if there's any like just duplicates due to weird spelling issues or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think I have more or less covered. But sometimes it's hard to tell. Is this just one person playing around with ink and coming up with their own names? Or is this, in fact, someone who is, I don't know, making ink and selling it? And where do you draw the line? What do you even consider an ink, right? So I think there's one guy on some fountain pen Reddit who is just making ink and selling it to a few people. Is that now an ink brand, or isn't it, right? So it is. Sometimes I wonder, I even have to Google stuff because I think, is this now an ink? Or is this a brand? and then you don't find it, and then sort of sometimes I have to go into the Penedict Slack and actually ask, hey, I found this ink. Is this real? More or less.
That would probably be an interesting topic at some point. What actually makes a product, especially in the pen world, like you said? Is it an official product when you've made one or two one-offs, or does it have to be a consistent thing?
Yeah, I mean, from the point of view of FPC, as long as more than one person owns it, it's probably beneficial to sort of track it, because then you sort of I don't know, one enters the color, and then the other person benefits from it. That's why I'm pretty lenient. As long as the ink is not called my mix number 1, 2, 3 or something like that, then I'm okay.
Oh, my mix 1, 2, 3. That sounds like a horrible MP3 player.
and the sort of the best one is brand unknown, ink unknown, which of course, I mean, it's a valid thing to track, but probably not useful in sort of tracking as a brand.
Right. I have 50 unknown green inks. Well, you should probably find out who those are.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, it's definitely been fun catching up with you again.
Yes.
Let's see if we can actually get a December episode in December.
Let's try, yeah.
On the plus side, I at least know what my work schedule is at the top of the year. Nothing's changing as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. So the recording time will still be the same, sometime at noon.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, definitely thank you for joining us for episode...
46.
What episode is it again? 46 of Two Guys, Zero Planners. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye-bye.